Their destiny is in their own hands. Manchester City 1 point behind Arsenal. They have a game in hand over them. That goal difference that Guardiola said was impossible to overhaul is 6 between them at the moment. 3 games left to play for Manchester City, 2 games left for Arsenal. Yes, difficult, but maybe not quite impossible for them. But we're back. We're back to the predictor tables. We're back to trying to work out what's going to happen. We're back to the Opta supercomputer, which says a 33% chance for Arsenal, twice as likely that Manchester City are going to win it. And so we're looking at the remaining games. You can make a case for some of these fixtures being tricky, particularly when you factor in the stage of the season that we're at and all kinds of things like player mentality or nerves or just all those small things that can come into it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, when you're coming toward the end of the season, you do think differently. I don't care what anyone says. Earlier in the season, you know, if you lose points or lose ground, you can make it back. But these are the games that are the most important, and that's where Man City seem to thrive. If you was asking me Spurs 2 months ago, I'd be saying this is a very difficult game. But now the way Spurs have sort of lost a little bit of form, it's still the game I'd be looking at as a player thinking, Spurs away. Our record's not great there. And the way they play...
What? It's not great. They've lost their last 4 in the Premier League at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Yeah,
and I think the way that Spurs play, the way they want to push really high, really good on turnovers, it should be an interesting game. I don't want to rule out Fulham as well. What Fulham are doing this season has been excellent. You'd think Man City would have enough to get through that. But if I'm a Man City player, a Man City fan, I'm looking at the Spurs away as the most difficult one out of those 3 games.
The hard thing is, it's like we've seen the movie before. Mm-hmm. We know the ending. Normally, they run away and they win it. It doesn't matter if it's the last minute. They can win it in all different ways, like they did, against Aston Villa in those last few moments as well. Mm-hmm. They're not easy. They're tricky games. And even, I went back. I remember you were with us in the occasion when they were playing Aston Villa at home, and I think they were 2-0 down at half time. West Ham, and they obviously win it in the end. Gundogan turns it around for them. They're tricky games. They really are. But it's Manchester City. But what Mikel Arteta has to do is just got to keep them honest. They've got to make sure they just win their games. Manchester United away, it's obviously not going to be an easy game. And they just get them to that last day of the season. And if you can even do that and ask the question, because you never know, anything is still possible. Yeah,
that game against Everton a few weeks ago when we were talking about this was Everton might need to win this one. There could be a lot resting on it, but now they know they're safe. Yeah. Maybe we're looking at that in a slightly different way, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's easier if Everton are going to be relaxed and kind of playing for and enjoying their football at that stage. Manchester United away is an interesting one because what we've said about Manchester United all season is, as a team, they might not be performing to their best ability, but as individuals, they have game changers.
And obviously, you go into that game, Arsenal, Man United, it's a big game. And all the players want to get up for big games, no matter where you are in the table. I just think with Arsenal now, though, they're a different Arsenal. When we looked at Arsenal last season, it was more of, OK, they play in a certain style, and it was high press, and they sort of, I wouldn't say one-dimensional, but a lot in their games you could pick exactly what they was trying to do. This Arsenal team now are different. They will concede possession if they need to. I've seen it at Man City. And they can counter-attack if they need to. They can also handle the ball as well. So both teams will probably win all 3. If we're at the end of the season, we'll probably...
Do you know what, though, Micah? There's 2 interesting subplots to a certain extent. And I look at that game with Manchester United away for Arsenal. Mm-hmm. Now, conspiracy theorists will say that Manchester United would much prefer Arsenal to win it than Manchester City. Tottenham Hotspur are obviously not going to want to see Arsenal win the league. Then you start to question footballers' integrity. Are they actually going to try? And I've had so many people asking me, well, Tottenham they're not going to want to try too hard and obviously hand the title to Arsenal. I've been in that position as a player on the last day of the season when you're trying to, you get asked questions. It was Blackburn were playing against Liverpool, and everyone was talking about that occasion. Well, of course, you're not going to be trying too hard. We want Blackburn to win the title, not Manchester United. But your integrity as a player is questioned all the time in those sort of situations.
Well, you scored.
Well, I want to win. Kelly, you want to win,
Yeah.
you know, because it's your personal pride. You know, if you're a Tottenham player and you're playing against Manchester City, you're on show. That game's going to be on Sky Sports. You're going to want to show your best. You know, you've had a little bit of stick lately. If you've got anything about you, you will give 100%. You know, and you know, that can always happen. So that's going to be such an interesting game. Well, both of them, you know, Manchester United and Tottenham are massive games because you're putting the players in a position that makes them really uncomfortable because they know if they win, they're going to hand the title, pretty much hand the title to their nearest, you know, to their rivals. So all to play for still.
Just 1 point in it then at the top of the table.